Okay. Well, I guess I could show the screen now. But last week, I got some complaints on the or not complaints, but some pointers on the on the audio. So I got my headphones in for a minute. Testing. We're going to test the audio, make sure it's not too quiet this week. Hello David, welcome. But if the audio is ever too high, too low, you just let me know and I will so I just adjusted it. I did it way. I was at like negative 20 last week. I think I'm at negative 4.5. My headphones. Okay. I can stop listening to myself now. I don't like listening to my own voice. Anyways, good afternoon, morning, evening. N-I, Clausen Z, welcome. Hope everyone's doing well, but all right, we can get this going now. But yes, I brought my headphones up this evening so I could test the audio. Once again, I just saw a few comments when I did my normal SVG post-race thingy-ma-watch-it. There were a few comments on the audio level, so I decided to adjust it. But if there's ever a problem, you let me know, and I will properly adjust for you, the people. Gold Guitar, welcome. I appreciate the nice words, kind words. In between the lanes, what's up, Denver? Good day. I hope everyone enjoyed the race yesterday. And yeah, we'll get going here. I'm testing the audio, threw me off, and I didn't tweet and all that. I'm on the Twitter. If you guys ever want to know what I'm doing with my day, I'm usually on the Twitter making dumb tweets. So it'll be especially useful this upcoming weekend because I tweet more than I YouTube post. Not videos. Like I'll have a lot of videos, but not like the post section. I do more tweeting than the post. But this upcoming weekend, trust me, we'll talk about it at the end here. Oh my goodness, I'm on the wrong screen. We'll do a little bit more at the end here, but yeah, you're going to want to pay attention for that. So yeah, at the end of the stream, we'll talk about Kota a little bit, my plans and whatnot. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be there. But first, we have to talk about Atlanta. I almost said Darlington for some odd reason, but no, we are here to talk about Atlanta. So once I finish getting this up on the line and making sure everything works, you guys said the audio was good. I thought it sounded good in my headphones. I adjusted it, so hopefully you guys are happy with it this week. But once again, more than happy to adjust the audio. So yes, there we go. We got that all clear. Check on that. That is tweeted. Perfect. All right, let's get going. Back to the comments here. Last person we said hello to, or good day, sorry, to Denver. Kyle Busch show on Saturday. Yeah, a truck race. Yeah, let's go over the truck race real quick. Applause, truckers, NAS truckers. What a fantastic start to the year. 2 races down and 2 really solid races. This week's race wasn't as exciting, I thought, as last week's at Daytona, but they kept it clean, and we had a clean, non-controversial green flag finish at the Truck Series race, and Kyle Busch beat Stuart Friesen in a photo finish. Fantastic finish, fantastic drive by Kyle Busch. Look at this, led 80 of the, how many laps were there? Not a lot, 150, 160, I don't know. But I mean, next closest 30, led by Connor Mosack. No one came close. So Kyle Busch once again dominates the truck race. I know, so shocking. But great drive by Kyle Busch. Great job by Stuart Friesen to keep it clean. He didn't door him. He didn't wreck him. Raced him clean to the line, side drafting. Fantastic finish. Trucks, in my book, they're 2 for 2 to start this year. 2 really good races. The drivers this year driving very clean, very aggressively, very just in a very exciting way that doesn't involve wrecking, driving over their heads. There's a lot of guys learning in here for sure, but it's refreshing to see the truckers kind of set an example in a sense. Just a really good start to the season. And shout out Bailey Curry in fourth. Great finish for him. But yes, back to the comments real quick. It was an entertaining race for sure. That's something I want to talk about because the finish had everyone talking, of course. The whole entertainment versus safety aspect, and yes, everyone wants to see the race finish under green, get a clean finish. But if there's a wreck, everyone wants to see it finish under green so we can know who won the race. And last week, even if the race finished under caution, Byron still would have won. But this week, you could have made an argument. Larson's on the inside. He could push Hocevar up the track into Bell. Larson goes on to win. Or you could argue Hocevar splits the middle and passes them both. And this is where I'm conflicted too, because I want to see them race to the finish under green, but also a big pile up. It's a 1.5 mile track. You want to get the safety crews out there. It's at the majority of the times it's better off to play it safe, but NASCAR kind of put themselves in this position of complication, I guess, if we want to put it that way. Maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but they've just been a little bit inconsistent to start the year, and it's just really made a lot of people mad. So consistency is my vote. Team Penske should win, but Ferrari choke. David, I think that's an overreaction because if this was like a normal race and, like last year at Gateway, if Ryan Blaney runs out of fuel after leading so many laps and let's say second place was Daniel Suarez and Daniel Suarez goes on to win, it's like, well, okay, then they kind of choked because they didn't get the fuel estimate right, or if they had a bad pit stop like Ferrari is known for. But Austin Cindric, it's not his fault he got put in the wall by Kyle Larson. Ryan Blaney, it's not his fault he got spun out by Carson Hocevar, and Joey Logano really didn't do anything wrong per se, or he didn't get wronged per se. Like, he didn't get spun out or wrecked like his other two teammates. But I kind of understand what you're saying, but I don't know if that's the right way to put it. Gold Guitar has a bold prediction for Kota. Rain will affect the race weekend. Rain tires will be used. Well, there's a chance. We'll get to our Monday picks. We'll get to Kota. We got our list here. New weekly tradition. Kota's at the end here. Paint schemes. Favorite paint schemes. Okay, let's go to the Cup Series results. Paint schemes. Chastain's Moose scheme was fine. Bubba Wallace and Columbia, they always have a good paint scheme. The pink, the kind of neon greenish, what was that, like a navy on the front? I thought that was a good looking paint scheme. The 38 looked good. Nothing insanely special, I would say, but still good. The Aaron's car back with Todd Gilliland, that was a great looking paint scheme. Coming back through the field here. The Xfinity car looked fine. Ryan Preece had a yellow car. Get Loud for McLeod, the all black, unsponsored, but top 25 for BJ McLeod. Coming down through the list. That's all I got at the moment. If I think of more later, I'll let you know in between the lanes. You're always the first person I know on the paint schemes. Hello, fantastic Priest. Hope you're happy that your favorite driver survived the carnage this week. I think he might have been involved in a wreck, but he didn't flip, so he's got that going for him. Okay, Denver, I see your question about the Sydney 500. I did see the finish to one of the races where Cam Waters he didn't really bump. Like, that wasn't a NASCAR level bump and run, but he definitely got him up the racetrack. I think it was Brock Feeney. It says Feeney up there. He kind of just got him up just a little bit, got him to move a little bit, and Cam Waters was able to out-drag him to the line. At one point, I think it was Will Brown that he saw Cam Waters bumping up on his teammate, and he kind of went in there to try to bump Cam Waters so he couldn't get to his teammate. But I saw that highlight of that finish, the last lap. That was a fantastic finish, a fantastic race. I hope we get something like that at Kota this week. But yeah, I did actually see the finish to that race. One of the races. I don't know which one, but if it was race 2, yeah. Brett, yeah, as I just said, I did see the supercars finish. What's with the word fantastic today? Me? Am I saying fantastic a bunch? If I've been saying fantastic, see, I don't even know what words I say a bunch, but that's fantastic. Sometimes I just get a word. I really like how it sounds on the day, and I just keep going with it. Don't know how to explain it. I dare you to overreact. Gold guitar. Yeah. Oh, we'll look at the point standings. We got that tab lined up right here. Joey didn't get blamed this week for anything. He led a bunch of laps. In fact, I could tell you how many he led. 83. Did he lead the most? I thought Barry led the most, but apparently not. Okay. Joey did. Interesting. What do I know? At the time of the final caution, SVG was 11th or so. He made it back to the finish line without assistance, so why was he only credited with 23rd? Sucks. Mike Wallace. I'm laughing because there's an ex-driver named Mike Wallace, and he tried to get into the Daytona 500, and NASCAR ultimately didn't let him race because he hasn't raced in over a decade. So I'm not laughing at you, Mike Wallace. I'm laughing at the coincidence that NASCAR didn't let a guy named Mike Wallace race literally a week ago. So, but it all has to do with the timing and scoring. It all has to do with the caution, and also, did you maintain pace? And SVG was like kind of half spinning out, and he was kind of drifting in a sense if you watch the onboard replay. So he was spinning and he wasn't keeping speed. And so by the time he was at speed to get to the line, he was 23rd. They declared that he was 23rd. We'll talk about his day later. I got my little tiny notepad here with all the notes. But hey, SVG fans that are watching this, come down here with me to 23rd place and look at this number right here. Why are we looking at this number, you may ask? Well, that is the lap sled category. The first significant statistic of SVG's rookie season have been put in place. I consider the significant statistics to be obviously race wins, poles, top 5s, top 10s, and lap sled. I would say those are the significant statistics. Well, we have our first two right here. 2 lap sled for Shane Van Gisbergen, and they came on an oval. It was a super speedway, so do with that what you want, but he led 2 whole laps. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Ryan Preece was great. Where did he finish? He finished like 13th, 18th. I was close. Same amount of laps led by the top 5 as last week. Oh, where it's like 14 or something. 14. Wow. Good job. But yeah, that's how these super speedways go, Clausen Z. You'll see Austin Cindric lead 60-something laps, or how 50 or 47. Josh Berry 56. Joey Logano 83. Logano finished 12th, and he was the highest out of all of them. That's just how it goes. And then the winner of the race led 1 lap, which was the final lap. That's the lap you want to lead, but I mean, it's just how these super speedways go. I don't know how to explain it. It's always been like that since I've been watching. Lindsey Bell, related to Christopher? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not, but it's a fun thought. Why doesn't Larson get the same heat as other drivers when he does wreck a lot of guys for being over aggressive? Great driver. I mean, Twitter, I'm on Twitter more than anything for the internet. There were some people on Twitter that were pretty heated, pretty upset. Cindric fans were upset, obviously, but it's a valid question. Like, if that was Hamlin, like, could you imagine if that was Denny Hamlin, the uproar? I think it just has to do with your standing with the fans, and then maybe not. I could be wrong. Um, I'm probably overthinking, over speculating, but I mean, Larson's a world class talent. Sure, he makes a mistake, and sometimes it's a big mistake every once in a while, but he is a world class talent. And I mean, I said last night, a lot of people said last night, but he messed up there. He walled Cindric. Cindric goes on to wreck after having a great day. And guess what? It could come back to bite Kyle Larson next week at Circuit of the Americas. If Kyle Larson's leading into turn 20 or turn whatever it is now, because we're on the short circuit, and Austin Cindric second, if I would argue, if Larson gets obliterated, now to an extent, like if he just like floors it and Larson goes flipping over the fence, that's a little extreme. Let's be realistic. That won't happen. But let's say Cindric spins Larson out in the final corner to win. I'd say they're even. I'd say Larson wrecked Cindric for the win, and now Cindric's wrecked Larson for a win. They're now even, and Larson can't be too upset about it because of what happened last week. But that's just my opinion. Let's see here. 579th consecutive start for Joey Logano. Yes, that's an accurate statistic that he is the most consecutive starts of any active Cup driver. The record is set by Jeff Gordon. SVG got credited with leading a couple laps. He led for probably like 8 total seconds, but he led at the right time for 2 of those laps. And ultimately, the laps led statistic is who crosses the line first. So, excuse me. My goodness, I don't know what that was. Denver. So Denver. Once again, we'll get to Kota at the end. Because I'm going to Kota, it's a 3-hour drive for me. I've been looking at the weather intently for the last 2 weeks, ever since it showed up in that 15-day time period on my weather app. Because one, I hate driving in the rain. The rain is fine. It's when it's a thunderstorm or a heavy rain. I hate that. I can't. It freaks me out. Had a bad experience once. Anyways. Sorry. Got sidetracked. The point being, it's been very inconsistent. Like one morning, like this morning, it said it's going to rain Sunday afternoon in Austin. But then tonight, like right before I got on here, it said it's going to rain in the morning. So we're still far enough out that they're not 100% sure when the rain's going to hit. But on the bright side, everyone, it's just rain. It's not thunderstorms, and we're on a road course. But I was at that 2021 Kota race. New fans, if you've not seen that 2021 Kota race, firstly, it was a fantastic race. There was some great racing in the rain, but it got a little chaotic. The standing water blinded people, and it was our first time at Kota. Cars got airborne, and there were fires. So, but outside of that, it was a good race. That's just me, though. A lot of people have conflicting opinions on that first Kota race, and I'm convinced that's the reason why we're running the short circuit this week. Okay, it's probably not, but I really hope my mind gets changed by Sunday. Bubba, an underrated speed racer, asks Micah. Well, he's always been good. His first win was at Talladega. He's led laps in the Daytona 500. He's finished second in the Daytona 500 twice. He's got multiple top fives at, I think, every single super speedway. I want to say the win at Talladega. He's probably got a top 5 at Atlanta somewhere. I could do a quick Google. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Bubba Wallace, Atlanta stats. But yeah, I think he's always been a good super speedway racer. I would not quite put him in the tier of like Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Austin, like the Penske guys right now. Yeah, he has a top 5. February of 2024, he finished 5th. So he has a top 5 at all the super speedways. I'd say he's good. He's not quite that top tier once again, but I'd say he's like that second tier where he's really good. He could win a race, I would say, each and every super speedway we go to. But he's not quite that top tier elite level in terms of the super speedway racing. Cindric probably won't do anything. You never know, Fantastic Priest. Cindric, he's got 2 wins in 3 years, I think, now. If he hadn't won at Gateway, I think he'd be a little bit more fired up. But since he has a win somewhat recently, maybe that helps calm him down. But what do I know? Yeah, nah, you're right. Wet weather, it makes the racing exciting, but it does make for more mistakes and more, as you said, stupid things to happen. Um, oh, yes. Thank you, Fantastic Priest, for bringing this up. I didn't make a video Sunday morning because we had a race and it wasn't like earth shattering. Corey Heim. Let's go back to this trucks. Corey Heim finished. Where did he finish? Oh, my goodness. He won at Daytona. He ends up finishing 23rd, 3 laps down. Can't really remember what happened to him. But Corey Heim has been signed to a developmental deal, I believe was the official terminology. And he's also the reserve driver for 2311, and he will make select starts in the 4th part-time 2311 car. Now, you got to remember, he made a start for them last year at Nashville. And he also made a couple starts for Legacy Motor Club when Eric Jones was hurt. So the official terminology says that Corey Heim will race in select Cup race events and will make starts in the Xfinity Series with Sam Hunt Racing. He will also remain a part of the Toyota Driver Development Program. So basically, he has signed an extension with Toyota. He's going to stay in their development program. He's going to be part-time in Xfinity, part-time in Cup. Sam Hunt Xfinity this weekend at Kota, he will be in the car. Cup Series, I think his first start is Kansas, I want to say. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But that's a really big deal for him, and he's earned it at this point. The fact that he's in the trucks for a 3rd straight year after getting, 12 wins in the last 2 seasons, it's kind of crazy, I'll say. But it's just how it goes sometimes. He's going to get to the Cup Series one day, I believe. He has fully shown that he's a talented driver. He can win at any racetrack, any week in the trucks, and if he has a few good runs in Xfinity, has some good runs in Cup, I could see him in the Cup Series very, very soon. That's just my opinion, though. We're not quite to Monday picks yet. Clausen Z, thank you. Thank you for the heads up to the people watching. Jamie says, Ross Chastain good at this track. Something tells me he may win. Well, remember, he won the first race in the Next Gen era at Kota back in 2022. Got career win number 1 at Kota. Hello, John Murray. Fantasy, you want to throw SVG in for Kota. Let's go to Fantasy. I'll show you how it works. Fantasy. So, I don't want to talk about this week. For me, personally, I finished last in our league. Okay, everyone down here, hi, hello. Everyone in this section right here, set your lineup, please. If you don't, it's fine. But I'm just saying, here's your reminder. So, John Murray, fantasy roster. So, it's currently locked from Atlanta. Entry list just got put in today. But, for example, so it's locked right now. Let's see how bad I did. Oh, my goodness. These picks are terrible. Nope, and nope. Fantastic. On the bright side, I benched Corey LaJoie at the last minute for Ty Dillon and got 7 more points. Yay. So, John, here's the note for you. Tomorrow or Wednesday, one of those days, this little lock here will turn into like a little 2 arrows facing the opposite direction. That's when you can switch. You click on this arrow. It's going to go through the entire field, and you can go in tomorrow or Wednesday. It will be based off the point standing. So you got to scroll a little bit down to get to Shane Van Gisbergen. You click on him. You fill out the rest of your lineup. So, like, for example, I'll tell you my lineup this week. It's going to be SVG, AJ Allmendinger, Chase Elliott. I haven't thought about the last 2 spots. Chastain. I think I'll use Chastain, and I might do a wild card here. I might put Zilich in, and then a garage, I might just throw a Larson or something in there. But yeah, so you just click on this little arrow, you fill out your lineup, and you make picks, these head-to-head matchups, who you think is going to finish better, and then it automatically submits it. And anytime you save or you want to switch, like come Friday, if you have a gut feeling about Denny Hamlin, you put Denny Hamlin in. And let's say it's lap 26. Shane Van Gisbergen has had a mechanical failure and he can't finish the race. He only got 3 stage points in stage 1, and you want to save him for a time later in the year. That's what this garage guy is for. You sub him in, put him in for SVG. He gets more points. You save an SVG usage. There you go. So there's a basic rundown on how the fantasy works. But back to the league standings. RT Racing is our new leader. Crackler is second. Hell on Wheels 24 is third. Aussie Matt's tied for third. Zerkman 95. Klaus Van Gissenbergen. Rumdy Creations. David Jerry was our leader last week. He is right here in 8th. Oscar Dave is 9th. Sportswagon 10th. 11th is Dunkin' Donuts. 12th is Zero Apex. Matt Smith 53 13th. Dan the Jets fan, that's our defending champion. Rough start to the year for Dan the Jets fan. 14th. 15th is Supercar Nut. 16th is PC_18. 17th, Fantastic Priest. 18th, Tyler Hernandez 6th. 19th, me. Embarrassing. 20th is Dr. Zero, and he is tied with Rebutted. All these people, I'm not reading your names, but get on it. And if you want to join the Fantasy League, it's for free. It's for fun. I will get you a link right here, and I will let you guys join because it's free, it's fun, and we're going to have a good time and continue to have a good time. I have fun personally. Like, I was sweating out the LaJoy Ty Dillon decision, which just is, I can't believe it's come down to that, but here we are. I'm copying that link for you all. Copy, X, bam, this thing, chat, paste, and boom. There you go. Go join. Okay. We can put that back over here. Put that back over here. I have a second screen that I'm staring at. Back to the comments. And then at what time is it? Oh, we got plenty of time. Perfect. Plenty of time to get to the SVG recap. Talked about that. We talked about the fantasy. As a new guy to NASCAR, the speedways don't seem great on the TV coverage. Sure, there are skilled guys, but it seems to be crazy ends and before the last stage. It doesn't mean at all. So Sean, I think Talladega and Daytona. In fact, Sean, I'm going to encourage you to do this. The super speedways from 2019 to 2021. So Daytona and Talladega. This was not Atlanta. Atlanta was a normal racetrack in 2019 through 2021. I would encourage you in either 2019, 2020, or 2021, go pick any of those super speedway races and watch those highlights. Because in my time as a NASCAR fan, those were the best days of super speedways. Now, yes, we still had big wrecks. We still had cars flipping. We still had cars hitting the walls hard and big names getting taken out. But for the most part, we saw some of the best drivers in NASCAR still winning the races in those super speedways. The Daytona 500 winners were Denny Hamlin and Michael McDowell. You may look at Michael McDowell and you say, well, he's no Denny Hamlin, but he's a very good super speedway racer. We saw William Byron win a race in this time period. We saw Ryan Blaney win 3 or 4 races in this time period. We saw Chase Elliott win. We saw, let me think, 2019 Daytona 500, 2019 Talladega. We already covered that. Justin Haley was the oddball. That's because it was a rain-shortened race and a strategy call, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that one. Denny Hamlin, the 2020 Daytona 500, 2020 Talladega, Blaney, 2020 fall was Hamlin. A lot of Blaney and Hamlin, in fact. 2021 McDowell. Brad Keselowski won at Talladega in the spring of 21. Who won at? Blaney won the fall Daytona. Fall Talladega was Bubba Wallace. So, yeah. But I would encourage you to go watch those. But, yeah, Atlanta this week seemed much better than Daytona because the track, it's a tighter radius for you to turn or something. and you actually have to lift a little bit or drag the brake a little bit more so you can make moves, you can build runs, switch lanes, and maybe it's just that the tires wear a little bit more, but it seems like the driver is more important for making moves at Atlanta versus Daytona and Talladega. Also, you don't have to save fuel, so you're always going flat out at Atlanta. Maybe that's it. But I thought Atlanta was better than Daytona personally. No, Sean, it wasn't always like this. It used to be like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jr., they would always win the super speedways. Like, those guys had a stranglehold. Like, it wasn't even funny. Like, Dale Jr. won 5 straight Talladega races or something. It was insane. So, no, it didn't used to always be like this. Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights, welcome. We're to the point that I talked about fantasy. I was really far behind on the comments. Mintox Ace, it's just the way these things go on the super speedways. It's nothing he can control. It's not his fault, which makes it suckier. Like, if he had dive bombed in and he had overdrove the corner and wrecked himself, you'd say, it's his own fault. That sucks, but it's his own fault. But when the field's wrecking ahead of you and everyone's going to avoid it and you get clipped and you're spinning out, yeah, I can understand your perspective there. Mike Wallace, feel free to join the Fantasy League. It's open to everyone. I'll pin it real quick. Everyone can join the Fantasy League. It's fun. We've got 30 members currently. We lost a couple, which I didn't know, but hey, if you don't want to play, you can leave. It's possible. Do what you want. Gold Guitar, it should be on the NASCAR app or the NASCAR Fantasy website, or just go through the NASCAR website, go to Fantasy. You got to put in your email. You don't have to pay for anything. So, yeah. Fantastic Priest. I think one of the big things, Fantastic Priest, in fact, I'm going to go here right now, is that a good chunk of the NASCAR schedule, like, look, this week's on Fox, but look at this slate here. FS1, 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 Fox, FS1, 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 FS1. We only have 2 more Fox dates the rest of the schedule. Look at all this FS1. So I don't think IndyCar has the viewership still compared to NASCAR, but they're on the big Fox every single race. So I think that could maybe make it interesting. I think NASCAR is going to, for the most part, outgain them. But it may be a closer gap than previous years. So, but you never know. You could be right. Sean, I don't know how Max works in Australia or New Zealand, so if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. Once again, I only have knowledge of television and streaming services here in the United States, so my expertise is, I guess, that and watching cars go fast. You could argue I'm not an expert on that either, but, you know, I got one Monday pick right so far this year. I picked Kyle Busch to win the truck race, so I got that going for me. We're like 1 of 8 on the year. Who will win first, if at all, this year? Busch, Ty Gibbs, Bubba, Hamlin, or Keselowski? Hamlin, probably. I guess Ty Gibbs could win at Kota this week, maybe. He's a decent road racer. But Hamlin at Vegas or Phoenix is very possible. Keselowski at Phoenix is very possible. I'd say Bubba at Vegas is possible. Ty Gibbs at Vegas is possible. Kyle Busch, I don't know what to expect still this year because we haven't been to a real racetrack yet, so it's still up in the air, but okay. Someone just honked their horn. All right. Hope you guys didn't hear that. Supercar CEO is visiting Hendrick Motorsports headquarters next fortnight. The fortnight. Wow, that's some terminology right there. It's 2 weeks, I believe. I don't use that term a lot, but I'm pretty sure that means 14 days. 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Okay, look at me. I know some words. Yeah, that'll be a big deal, Denver. We'll talk about it when it happens. Okay, it's time. It's time. I'm gonna get a swig of water here. We're gonna do our SVG recap. So obviously we're live here. I'll do my thing. I won't be reading comments. I may take a pause in the middle to get a swig of water and I'll read a couple comments then, but for the most part, I'm going to be looking at the screen like I'm doing a video, and we're just going to talk about SVG's day. Got my notes here. Went back and watched the race replay, and yeah, okay. Atlanta Motor Speedway, Shane Van Gisbergen, believe it or not, actually not his first start in the Cup Series. Made a start back last fall in September at Atlanta Motor Speedway right after he was announced as the full-time driver of a Trackhouse car. Gave him some extra dates. Atlanta was one of them. He finished 32nd in that race. I think he got involved in a wreck if I remember correctly. But anyways, we're here to talk about today, or yesterday now. We're here to talk about Shane Van Gisbergen's first ever trip to Atlanta as a full-time Cup Series driver. That sounds better. So we're going to talk about his day. I got some notes here. I went back and watched the race replay on Max, HBO Max, whatever it's called now. And I watched his onboard, listened to his radio, how his day went. He led a couple of laps in this race, believe it or not. His first laps led of the 2025 season. And yeah, let's get into it. So he started this race in 30th. Once again, for the second straight week, we are at a super speedway. Now, Atlanta, I should have done this earlier. This is during a live stream. So the new SVG segment is now on Mondays. We do it the day after the race because I have to focus on the main race itself, whereas Xfinity, I would focus mainly on SVG. But now I have to focus on the main race itself, so we do it on a Monday night live stream. We talk about the race, we talk about everything else, and I carve out about 15 to 20 minutes to talk about SVG. I cut that, I put some graphics on there, I put some video clips on there, and this is how we do it now. So if the audio is good this week, I hope it's good this week. I was told it was low last week, so I adjusted it, raised it up a little bit. So hopefully the audio is good this week. But yes, Atlanta Motor Speedway, it's a 1.5-mile racetrack. Technically, it's 1.54 miles, which is equivalent to 2.49, so about 2.5 kilometers. Very similar to Daytona, which is a 2.5-mile track, which I believe is like 5.2 kilometers or 4.02 kilometers, excuse me. So it's a much shorter track. It's a similar track in terms of the actual racing itself. We have the pack where it's a bunch of cars racing in a pack. There's about 20 to 30 cars within a second and a half of each other. One car goes spinning, the whole field wrecks. You guys all saw how that went at Daytona last week. Atlanta is a mini version of Daytona, so that means, you're turning the wheel a little bit tighter. You do actually have to lift off the gas a little bit. Now, you're not slamming on the brake, and honestly, some drivers don't even use the brake. It's a driver preference. You'll see some drivers let off the gas, and it's light, going from 100% throttle to 85% for about 2 seconds. Some drivers, they continue on full throttle, but they drag the brake. So they just kind of keep their foot on the brake for a little bit to get through the corner. There's a little bit more, I hate to say skill involved, but there's a little bit more skill needed in how you make your moves. Daytona and Talladega in this next gen car, you're not able to maneuver or make aggressive moves because you're not able to build up the run. Whereas in Atlanta, you're able to build up runs and you're able to pass people more frequently. You're able to run in all 3 lanes and weave your way through traffic in a sense. And also another great thing, you don't have to save fuel because, there's a lot of cautions, and also just you can make it to the end the way things play out. And fuel saving, it's mentioned, but it's not as heavily emphasized. So anyways, for the second straight week at the Super Speedway, Trackhouse, not a great qualifying effort, but qualifying at these Super Speedways, it doesn't really mean anything. It's all about how the car handles in the pack. It's a completely different setup in a sense. He started 30th, and remember, as I said, he finished 32nd in his first ever Atlanta start. And a big thing about these super speedways is the spotter. Josh Williams, not the Xfinity driver, don't get mixed up. There are two different Josh Williamses. But Josh Williams is the spotter for Shane Van Gisbergen this year, and they are ultra important at these super speedways. Josh Williams is obviously telling SVG who's around him. Car outside, car inside. You're in the middle of 3 wide. You got a car, 1 car length behind you, coming up with a big run. He's about to hit your bumper really hard. Hold on for dear life. Or, hey, sometimes he relays information about what's happening in front. So when SVG is running 22nd, he's saying, hey, the high line, the top line has more cars. It has about 12 cars. The bottom has about 7. Top line might be preferred here. Or he's saying, hey, this car that you're about to hit, he doesn't handle pushing as well. So maybe don't hit him as hard. Or maybe he'll say the opposite. Hey, this car can take a push. Shove him. Get him out to the front of the field. So the spotter is going to not only relay information about what's directly happening around his driver's car, but he's also going to tell you about all the other things that are happening in the race. Is there a wreck in front of you? Is there a wreck behind you? What works good for other drivers that you think your driver can apply and use to better their position or better their race? So it was a pretty tame stage 1. Not much to talk about here. SVG just kind of yo-yoed from about 18th to 33rd. He'd get up to, as I said, 18th, fall back to 24th, move up to 20th, fall back to 27th, up to 23rd, and just kind of shuffled from that region. It's the tale of 2 races. I'll explain why, but the first half of the race, that was really the story. He was about 18th to 33rd, making some moves, making some fun moves, going with Ross Chastain, going with Daniel Suarez, his teammates, or going with another Chevy car, but not doing anything over aggressive and nothing crazy. It's just kind of where he was. Talked about how his car was tight. This was the majority of the race. It would just tighten up as the run went on. As I said, handling much more important at Atlanta than Talladega. Just you're driving the car a lot more at Atlanta than you are at Talladega and Daytona. So they finish up stage 1. SVG ends up finishing, I think, 22nd or something. Let's see if I have it written down here. Stage 1, he finished. I went the wrong way on my notes. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the place. Okay, I don't have it written down, but I think it was around 22nd, let's call it. Maybe it was 23rd. But SVG finishes in the top 25, no stage points, but that's how it goes. And, well, yeah, nothing much. They end up making a pit stop, and at the end of the stage, SVG said, oh man, that's fun. And it wasn't like a sarcastic. He said that like he was really having fun in this race. As I said, he said that the car was tight, but he didn't want a big adjustment. He didn't want them to, throw the kitchen sink at it or anything. Just a little bit of an adjustment, help loosen him up. He didn't want to be overly loose. So they took 4 tires, filled it up on fuel. In fact, here's another little note. The crew chief, while he makes the strategy calls and the adjustments and all that stuff, he's also relaying information to Shane Van Gisbergen, or a crew chief to their driver, about what they can do better on their pit stop. And actually, SVG got some good information from crew chief Steven Duran here. SVG came into pit, and, Steven Duran's telling him, hey, here's who's in front of you in the pit box in front, pit box behind. And he said, hey, next time you pit, you went a little bit long in the box, a little bit too far, and also you were a little bit too close to the wall, made it difficult on the left side tire change. So next time, adjust that. It wasn't a big deal. We didn't lose a ton of time, but hey, just a note. And hey, I think he adjusted, but they end up restarting in 20th place at lap 82. He said the car still tight, and he said it was actually a little bit worse, but the race goes on. By the way, they have code words. I don't know what they mean, and I'm not trying to expose state secrets on here. It's public information if you get an HBO Max account. But SVG and Steven Duran, they were talking on the radio, and their code words are Supercar and MotoGP. Obviously, Trackhouse owns a MotoGP team, and then Supercar, Shane Van Gisbergen used to drive supercars. Do I really need to say that? So anyways, this is the big moment of the race. 22 laps to go in the stage, 122 laps to go in the race, and SVG's pitting. Him, Ross Chastain, and a bunch of other people, they end up going to pit, and once again, they were running kind of in the back half of the teens or even in the 20s at times, but they go to pit, and this is a big deal, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. They take 4 tires and fuel, 22 to go in the stage. Not much time left in this stage, and they're trying to flip the strategy, trying to get better track position. Well, he restarts 26th place. He's 27th place when, with 9 laps to go in stage 2, there's a wreck, a multi-car pileup. By the way, SVG just missed out on this wreck by just a little bit, but hey, he missed the wreck, no damage. He's now in 27th, which I guess he fell back, but he made up a few spots because people wrecked, unfortunately. Now, with 4 laps to go, he's 17th on the restart because a few guys in front of him pitted. They just did what this whole group of cars with SVG did. And so now he ends up finishing the stage in 15th place. And as a result, a bunch of the rest of the field, basically, they now pit, which means Shane Van Gisbergen at the start of stage number 3, 4th place, P4. So he's got a good look at the front of the field. He's got his teammate Ross Chastain lined up in front of him. And what do they do on this restart? They jump out to the lead. Ross Chastain gets a good jump. Shane Van Gisbergen gives him a good push. And they run 1-2 for a solid 10 laps or so. Chastain led the majority, but then finally the field kind of started to get a little bit more organized. Kyle Busch got the top lane running. Ross Chastain had to go block it. And for a few laps here, Shane Van Gisbergen and Ross Chastain, they're running side by side for the lead. In fact, Shane Van Gisbergen led 2 laps. Let's go look at some statistics here. Scroll down here. Do you see this too? Shane Van Gisbergen led 2 whole laps. He has started off his laps led category in the 2025 statistic book. He has led 2 whole laps here in the 2025 season, and that's right before we get to a road course. Anyways, as I said, you follow your teammate on the choose, every restart, stuff like that, but he got to lead a couple of laps. There's another wreck at some point. He restarts second, 76 laps to go, and that was the peak of the race, really, for SVG. He led those couple laps, was running top 2 for 20 or so laps, let's call it. I don't know the exact number. But he said, hey, being out front was really nice. And this was right after they talked about, the car itself. So I don't know if he was saying the clean air felt really nice to drive in or if he was saying, hey, it felt really nice to lead at some point on one of these ovals. Now at this point, as I said, it's about 76 laps to go that the caution fell. They pitted with about 70 to go, 71 to go. So at this point, everyone could pit 4 tires, get fuel, and you can make it to the end of the race on fuel. Now remember, I said that SVG and that group of cars, they pitted with 22 to go in stage number 2 for tires and fuel to flip the track position. Well, you got to remember, there was another group of cars who pitted about 15 laps later, and they filled up on fuel. And then there was that other group of cars who pitted 10 or so laps later to do the same thing. So while they flipped the track position, while they put themselves in a great place and they led a couple laps, they were up front, it didn't bite them because they ended up fighting back and getting back to the top 5, but they had to wait a little bit longer on fuel. They had to make sure that they could make it to the end while everyone else was able to make these shorter pit stops. And so SVG, it was not a slow pit stop. It wasn't a bad pit stop. It's just that they had to wait for the fuel to make sure they could make it to the end of the race. And they end up restarting in 10th. So they go from 2nd to 10th on that pit cycle purely because they needed fuel in the car. It's a pretty big necessity. Now, this next run, they kind of run from 5th to 12th. They fall, it's kind of like I said with the 18th to 33rd. You know, he restarts 10th, makes his way up to 7th. Falls back to 11th, but all of a sudden he's back in the top 5. Okay, now he's back to 9th. Like, it's just how these things go at super speedways. You yo-yo. So yeah, he was 10th place with 55 to go, and technical difficulties hit. For about 10 laps, I did not have the HBO Max live stream because it said, technical difficulties. We will get back to your event later. True story. It happened during the race, and I had to turn off HBO Max 3 times to make sure it worked, and, well, it finally ended up working. But as I said, he was running in that 5th to 12th range, and that slowly just kind of fell to 10th to 15th, 15th to 20th. And with 26 to go, there was a caution. He was running 19th place. He said 3 and 4 in reference to turns 3 and 4. His car was handling terrible, still too tight. He wanted an adjustment, so they said, hey, bring it down to pit road. We'll put 4 tires on this thing, fill it up with fuel, and, or at least, get you a little bit more fuel to be safe. And then also we'll adjust the car to your liking. He was the first car on the field or on the track to pit, and he ended up leaving pit road first, so he didn't restart that far behind. He came in 19th and he restarted 21st because a couple cars behind him stayed out. So he didn't lose much track position, and he has fresher tires now. So anyways, he makes his way up a little bit. 19th, 16th, 15th, and he's running around 11th to 13th for the last 10 laps of this race. 2 laps to go, a lap and a half to go in this race, really. Austin Cindric goes spinning because Kyle Larson blocked him, and SVG is P11. He's 11th place, great chance at a top 10 at an oval. He's had a really good day. He's led a couple laps. How is this thing going to end? It ended in the dirt. As these super speedways go, Shane Van Gisbergen, through no fault of his own, is running 10th, 11th, 12th, as I said, and the field starts wrecking in front of him. He has nowhere to go. Everyone starts wrecking. He was able to get back to the flag. He was able to finish the race, but he went from 11th, and as you can see here, he finished 23rd. So it was a really good day for him, honestly. A great learning experience, which is what this year is about. It's kind of like last year in Xfinity, but there will be times this year that it's all about learning. He got to lead a couple laps. He got to know what it's like to be up at the front of the field. Got to know what it's like to be in the top 5, top 10, mid-pack, and even, kind of near the back in the late 20s and the early 30s at times. So he got to know what it's like in every single part of the race, and even got some significant statistical additions with the 2 laps led. So, well, sure, the final result may be disappointing if you're an SVG fan, but you got to look at the positives. He led a couple of laps. He was up front at times. And at the end, that wreck wasn't his fault. He didn't trigger the wreck. It just happens at these super speedways. Someone triggers a wreck and you got nowhere to go, and someone wrecks you on accident. So currently, let's look at his point standing, and unfortunately, we have to scroll. 34th. So it's how the super speedways go. We see some other big names down here. I mean, Brad Keselowski's down here. Chase Briscoe has negative 51 points because they got a massive penalty. That's a different story, though. That has nothing to do with super speedways. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Johnson's made 1 start, and he's still 24th in points. Good news for you SVG fans, but yeah, good news. Next week is a road course Circuit of the Americas. I will be there. I am excited to be there. I will let you guys know what I'm doing when we get closer to that time. Really excited for that race. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, we're back to the live stream now, so Thank you all for your patience. I forgot, stupid bozo. I forgot to mark when I started talking. Well, let's call it the 38-minute mark. 38-minute mark. Klassen Z. See, the thing about these tiny notebooks, and don't get me wrong, I have my bigger notebooks, but this one is great when I'm like at the track because I can put it in my pocket, and if I need to write something down, and sure, I have my phone and all that, and I can just jot it down on my phone. But my phone, sometimes I'm recording, I'm trying to save battery, and I'm on the NASCAR app listening to the scanners, and just this is just sometimes easier. Sure, my handwriting sucks, but sometimes it's easier. It fits in my pocket. It's easier to use. So I try to get myself used to using a tiny pocketbook for my notes because it just teaches me how to condense. It was a big thing we talked about in journalism school is condense. You know, cut out all the fat. You just want the good, meaty brisket. Yeah, I think that was a good analogy. Mike Wallace, I appreciate it. Appreciate the nice words. Shane Edmonds, thank you for the thank you, I guess. But I'm glad you guys enjoy it. Yeah, it's a little bit different than what we did last year with the Xfinity series, but hey, it's what we do now. Next week will be different. Next Monday, we're still going to do the Monday after. It's just because I'm going to be there, I want to watch the actual race replay and not just the SVG onboard. And also, I anticipate SVG being up front, and that'll make it easier to follow. But I'm really excited for Kota next week, and I can't wait to tell everyone why. I just got to finalize some things, but yes. So we've looked at the points, or we haven't really actually, but Ryan Blaney, still your points leader. He's only led 23 laps, but he's got stage 1. Denver, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I very much appreciate it. You're always here at the live streams. Klassen Z, you too. I mean, I could go through the whole list, but I know you guys appreciate the SVG updates, and that's why I continue to do them because I know there's so many people. Like, my statistics from last year were insane. It was like 60% from Australia and New Zealand was my viewership, which I would have never guessed in a million years. But that's why I continue to do these updates because I know so many of you want to know how he's doing and appreciate the updates. So I do my best to keep you up to date on it. But that's kind of crazy. The top 3 in points right now are 3 of last year's championship 4. And these are after 2 super speedways. Blaney, Byron, Reddick. Who's the 4th? Who was the 4th? Oh, Logano. Logano won the stupid championship last week. How can I forget? He's in 11th, so he's still in a decent spot. But, yeah, just interesting. Bubba Wallace is up there. If you told me before the season that after 2 super speedways to start the season, Kyle Larson would be 6th in the points, I would have called you dumb. If you told me 6th Kyle Larson, 7th John Hunter Nemechek, I would have laughed at the Larson part. Not kidding. You could have told me Stenhouse too. I'm telling you. Larson at the super speedways, I do not trust. But yesterday, he may have wrecked someone. But hey, he did a good job in terms of the finishing result. Okay. Right now, the playoff cutoff. Chris Buescher's in. Eric Jones is out. 2 Spire cars in as of today. Now, obviously, there's a lot of racing to go before we get to the playoffs. But big names out if the playoffs were to start today. Ross Chastain, Jimmy Johnson. Not really. Suarez, that would be a really big deal. Kyle Busch is out. Ty Gibbs is out. Keselowski, SVG. But once again, we got, 24 races until the regular season's over. This will sort itself out. So don't lose faith, fans. But Chase Briscoe at the negative. no offense to Chase Briscoe, but I'm very curious how long he can stay in the negative. Like, it's basically going to take a win and winning the stages to even get out of the negative this week. Like, there's a very good possibility. I would say a very high possibility he leaves Kota in the negative. So, speaking of Kota, it's time. Monday picks, ladies and gentlemen. Here is your Xfinity Series entry list. We have some significant names in here. I want you to come down this list. We got our normals. We got Carson Quapple, Jesse Love, Parker Retzlaff, Chris Wright. We got Ross Chastain in the field this week in the Junior Motorsports number 9, his first of 4 or 5 starts. We've got Carson Hocevar, a last-minute addition to the SS Greenlight Racing number 14. He's subbing for Garrett Smithley. William Byron is in the Hendrick Motorsports number 17. Riley Herbst in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19. Corey Heim in the Sam Hunt Racing number 24. I think that's it. That's normal. That's normal. That's normal. That's normal. That's all normal. TBA at Alpha Prime. Curious to who's going to drive that car, I guess. Yeah. So Xfinity picks. Monday picks to the 31 people watching this at this exact moment. Number could drop any second now. Let me know who your Monday pick is. Who do you think is going to win at the Circuit of the Americas? And remember, we are not running the normal course. What's it called? The short track? We're running a different layout this year. We are running the national course. We are not running the full 3.41 mile track. We are running the short version for the first time ever. I personally, if you want my personal opinion, I am not a fan of this change. I love Circuit of the Americas. I love their facility. I love the long course, though, but I'm not going to judge a book by its cover, even though I've done it a ton already. But we will see what the racing is like this weekend. We will see how it goes. We will see how this race is. But this is the new layout. So get yourself a good look at it. I'm curious to see how it races, but once again, I don't know. Maybe I'll get proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong, and I hope it's a great race at Kota this weekend. I just love the long version. Does everyone have a good look at it? I hope everyone looking at it. All right, you've had a good look at it now. All right, so once again, look at the entry list. Everyone make your Xfinity picks. David says Connor Zilich is his Xfinity Series pick. So Zilich, you got to remember, he showed up and he won at Watkins Glen. But we got a stacked field. We got Chastain. We got Byron in there. Hocevar's in there too, but I don't think that car is quite as good as the others. I think I have my pick. I'm curious. In between the lanes, I don't know how bold that. I'd say it's a little bit bold, but Taylor Gray out of nowhere says in between the lanes. It says in between the lanes. I'm tempted to pick Zilich, but as we know, these road courses can go not according to plan. I'm going to go with Chastain. Ross Chastain, it's the most competitive Xfinity car he's been in a while. I know he had that DGM part-time ride, and he did a good job in it, don't get me wrong, but let's be honest, the Junior Motorsports car is going to be much more competitive. I think Ross Chastain wins the Xfinity race. He's my pick for Xfinity this weekend. Hey. So let me know, who's your Monday pick? We got a Taylor Gray, we got a Connor Zilich. Who do you think is going to win the Xfinity race? We're going to get to the Cup race in a minute, but here is your Xfinity entry list. All right, yeah, I'll switch over to the Cup. Here's the Cup entry list. The most notable, Connor Zilisch is making his Cup Series debut at 18 years old. He turns 19 in July. I Googled that right before I got on here. And not only is it Connor Zilisch's debut, Red Bull makes its triumphant return for the first time since 2011. Red Bull will be a primary sponsor. It's been on SVG's car for the first couple races now, but it will be the primary sponsor for Connor Zilisch at the Circuit of the Americas. Zilisch, Red Bull. Connor Zilisch is now a Red Bull driver or a Red Bull athlete. Let's see here. That's not the picture I clicked. What in the world? Aha, this is the picture I want. Okay, here we go. Here's the car. Zilisch standing in front of it. There you go. So the first time Red Bull is back on track since 2011. Yeah, there you go. There's what it's going to look like for the first time. So that's exciting. But Zilisch, his debut, that's highly anticipated, obviously. But let's hear your Monday picks. So Denver is picking SVG. AJ Allmendinger to finish second. Chase Elliott third. Larson fourth. Zilisch fifth. And if it's a wet weather race, SVG by a Flemington horse racetrack. I'm assuming that one's by a lot. And Connor Zilisch to win Xfinity. Kyle Busch for the win. Says in between the lanes. Interesting pick. Kyle Busch has not won a road course in... Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. I have to do some thinking here. Sonoma 2015, I believe, was the last time that Kyle Busch won a road race. Correct me if I'm wrong there in the Cup Series. So it's not quite bold, but it's an eye-opener. William Byron, the Raptors game. Don't get me started in between the lanes. I don't want to talk about the Raptors game. SVG is Klaus NZ's pick. We got a few SVG picks already. I have a feeling that's going to be a popular pick this week. With the crowd here watching this live stream. So we're getting a lot of top 5 picks. SVG, Bell, Gibbs, Larson, Elliott. Chase Elliott is, okay, David's pick. So we got a Chase Elliott, a couple SVGs. Kyle Busch. That's it so far. I think I have my pick, but I'm waiting a minute. SVG, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch. I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'll go look this up. Technically, this race is in Elroy. No, it actually might be in Austin. Elroy is the neighboring city. Texas weather. Okay, well, that's not good. Okay, that's good. They're saying the majority of the rain right now, it's a 25% chance from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., right before the start of the race. This race starts at 2:30 local, and then the rain chances go from 5% or under from about 1:30 p.m. to about, let's call it 5 p.m., shoots back up to 15% for about 30 minutes, and then it's about 10 to 20 for the rest of the night. So I don't know if it'll be a downpour, but it's just rain. It's not thunderstorms, which that's a really good sign right now. Let's see what the Weather Channel says. Weather Channel said, no, don't log me into anything. I'm not a Weather Channel member. Sunday, it says a 24% chance of rain. It looks like the day will be cloudy sky, slight chance of a rain shower, but then it will be the night. So it looks like we'll avoid it unless it's, well, it's not a night race. I'm going to have to drive home in that, but night race, no. So the Weather Channel says we'll be good to go. Maybe an occasional shower, which could spice things up. AccuWeather says daily, as I get a Puerto Rico and Kroger ad back to back. That is very random. Quite the combination. Oh my goodness. What? Puerto Rico. I'm not going to Puerto Rico anytime soon. I'm going to Austin, Texas. Goodness. So AccuWeather says it's a 5% chance of rain on Sunday. Okay. Let's see what Apple Weather says. Apple Weather is confusing. Apple Weather. What do you have to say? Austin, Texas, Sunday, 40% chance of rain. Chances start at about noon and go through the afternoon to evening. But it looks like the highest chance is 15% from about noon to 3. Drops down to 10 from 4 to 6. And then more rain from 7 to midnight. So, and it says 0.4 of an inch. I don't know if that's a lot of rain. I'm not that much of an expert. I like to think I know what the weather's all about. No, SVG is not running as Xfinity this week. It's Rudy Fugle. Yeah, that's a typo. That's a mistake. Whoever made the entry list made a mistake, or someone at Hendrick or NASCAR entry list maker made a mistake. My AI chat said Hamlin will win. Oh, man. Denny Hamlin's a great driver, but he is not winning this weekend. He has struggled at the road courses, especially in the next gen era. I'm pretty confident that Denny Hamlin will not win, respectfully. But he could win at Phoenix. You name any oval, he can win at any oval. But the road courses, I have a little bit less faith in him. Everywhere else, though, he can win any week. Same thing for Logano, I'd say. They race in the rain. Well, yeah, Duke Chronic. If it's just rain, there's no thunderstorms as of now. That could change. Don't get me wrong. Everyone knows that the SVG guy's the guy to beat hard. Yeah. He's the odds-on favorite, Denver. He's 5-1. Holy taps. Duke Chronic, it's because we go through all these. So we went through the finishing results of the race. We went through the point standings, Xfinity, trucks, SVG recap. I forget what this was. Yeah, I got too many tabs open, but it's for tonight. Usually I have like 3 open if that makes you feel better, if it's stressing you out. And then we got the, what's it called? The entry list. Backup Alex Bowman. Does the new layout skip the areas they had standing water on Sunday? Duke Chronic, that's a fantastic question. I don't know. Because we still use I'd say 40% of the backstretch at Kota. But do we use that? Oh my God. I just hope if it rains, it's a light to moderate rain. It's nothing like, I was there in 2021 for that. I thought it was a great race, but I will admit it was a little too much rain for my taste. Just saying. Anyways, just saying. It's a shame they didn't line up the next race to be Vegas. Hey, Cameron, in the fall race, they had a bunch of NASCAR drivers go to Allegiant Stadium, which is the NFL stadium in Vegas, because there was some Australian, New Zealand rugby games going on, and they had them do a meetup or something. So that did happen back in October. Or was it last spring? It was one of the most recent Las Vegas races, one of the 2024 races. So that did happen. But this year they shifted the schedule around. This year, or this race was Vegas last year, I think. That sounds right. I think. I don't know. Picking Di Benedetto and Cindrix as gold guitar. That's a little bit bold there, both of those, honestly. Buying shares in the rugby ball department company should spike this week. I guess I haven't made my Monday pick yet. Xfinity, I picked Chastain. Cup. So you got to remember, it's a new layout. And you got to think about the most recent new tracks or new layouts we've had. The most recent new layout we've had was the Charlotte Roval, where they redid a section in the infield. Kyle Larson was the winner. But you got to remember, with stage cautions and all that, the guy who got pole and dominated that first stage was Shane Van Gisbergen. Go back to our previous new road course, Chicago. Who won that? Shane Van Gisbergen. It's a factor of rain. There's a chance that there's rain. Duke Chronic says on paper might be a long shot, but McDriver, hey, well, I could tell you if he's a long shot. I just know Zilich is 4th in the odds for Cup. That surprised me. Like, I didn't think he was going to be like a long shot, but I thought he might be in the 20-1 range. But no, he's 7-1. But let's see what McDowell is. Duke Chronic, Michael McDowell. Odds to win the Echo Park Texas Grand Prix is 35-1. That's better than Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney. It's kind of surprising. Okay. Brad Keselowski, 200-1. That's another guy I would not pick to win this race. But anyways, back to my previous point. What was my previous point? Oh, right. New tracks, new racetracks. So, new racetracks, new configuration of the Charlotte Roval last year. SVG gets pole, dominates the first stage, doesn't win the race because cautions and all that. Track before that, Chicago. SVG won. And now we come to the Circuit of the Americas where we have a new layout, a new track, and SVG is he hasn't run this exact layout, but he's run the infield portion of Kota, basically. He's had a couple of races here in NASCAR now, almost won the Xfinity Series race last year. He finished like 12th in the Cup race last year. I think he had a mechanical problem or something at some point, and that kind of set them back. But with all that being said, I'm a big believer in redemption. I thought about picking Austin Hill for Xfinity, but I didn't go with that. I'm a big believer in a redemption story. SVG got so close to winning this race last year in Xfinity, things got freaky at the end. Things will maybe still get freaky at the end here, but I'm going to do it. We're going to pick Shane Van Gisbergen to win the Circuit of the Americas race for the Cup Series. He's not in the Xfinity Series, but in the Cup Series. He's the odds-on favorite. It's a boring pick in terms of the odds, but hey, it's a little bit more of a predictable result because he's the odds-on favorite. So my picks this weekend, I went with an all-trackhouse pick. I went Chastain to win Xfinity, went SVG to win Cup. He's running the WeatherTech car. Red Bull is back with Zilich. But yeah, those are my picks. Allgaier and Cindric is Max Likes Cars pick. Gold Guitar went with DiBenedetto and Cindric. David went with Chase Elliott and then said Alex Bowman. Let's see here. Denver said SVG, I believe. Clausen Z said SVG. Taylor Gray was in between the lanes Xfinity pick. I really like that pick just because it's so out there. In between the lanes also picked Kyle Busch for Cup. So a couple out there picks, I would say. Zilich was David's Xfinity pick. But yeah, we've made our Monday picks. So we did our normal SVG recap today. We talked about the race at Atlanta. That fine line between entertainment and safety. We talked a little bit about the points. Hey, go back to those real quick. Points. Okay, we're on the wrong end. Chase Briscoe still has negative 51 points. He needs a really good result, at least a top 5 to get back in the plus. Also, some stage points. Anyways, back up to the front. 3 of the top 4 were your championship 4 last year. Got some random guys up there like John Hunter Nemechek and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But other than that, we got some normal names. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. He was your winner, and we still have barely talked about him. Fun fact, Christopher Bell has led 1 whole lap this season. He has more wins than all but one driver. Odd statistic. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I got to go now cut and clip the SVG recap. But thanks again for watching. Kota this week. I've said it a couple times. I will be there. I will be at the Circuit of the Americas. Austin is pretty close to me. I'll be there. I'm excited to be there. I'll tell you more about it later in the week once things are locked up. I'm going to be there all 3 days. I'm going to be there for Xfinity qualifying on Friday. I'll be there for Cup qualifying and the Xfinity race on Saturday. I'll be there for the Cup race on Sunday. So, yeah, Really looking forward to it. Michael, no, SVG is running the WeatherTech car this week. He doesn't run Red Bull until Vegas. So there's your answer. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to join the Fantasy League, feel free. It's pinned up here. We got 30 or so members. I did terrible this week. You can probably beat me if it makes you feel good. But I'll see you guys later. I'm about to post the SVG recap. It'll be out hour and a half.